Hi, I'm Jeff Mucklin, and this is Science at Home, brought to you by the Nurture Nature Center. Now, behind me, you can see the Lehigh River, and if we just turn around, you can now see one of the wastegates for Section 8 of the Lehigh Canal. Now, as we get closer to the wastegate, you're going to hear a lot of sound. You can hear the power of this rushing water. And that's the topic of today's video, hydraulic energy, hydraulic power. The water level in the canal is much higher than the water level in the river, and as the water drops from the canal through there down into the river, it speeds up and it gains kinetic energy. This energy was exploited in America's first industrial park, the Abbott Street Industrial Park, which used to be located right here. In its heyday, the Abbott Street Industrial Zone was home to a grinding mill, a textile factory, blast furnaces, and a wireworks. All of these industries were powered by water, by the water falling from the canal into the Lehigh River. To understand how we can use water as a source of energy, I want to show you a little demonstration. So this is a gravity light. This is a simple machine that converts the gravitational potential energy of a heavy object into electricity. I'm going to power this with a piece of metal. I'm going to lift it up, and as I lift it, I give it gravitational potential energy. When I let it go, it slowly begins to fall. You might not notice that it's falling, but it is slowly descending. And as this weight descends, it loses gravitational potential energy. But that energy is being converted into kinetic energy that is then driving the generator that's inside here that's producing this light. So the gravity light is a wonderful way to convert the energy of a falling object into useful work. The earliest way that we use this kind of energy is with water wheels. And here I have set up a simple model that shows a water wheel that can rotate, and it's connected to some gears that transfer that motion to a grinding wheel. So I have a source of water that's pouring over the water wheel. You can see here the water is hitting the blades on the water wheel, and the water then provides the energy that causes the wheel to rotate, and the wheel is connected to these gears that transfer that motion to the grinding wheel. And this would be an example of one of the earliest uses for a water power. And here's a lovely example. This is Grist Mill Park in Hellertown. This is the stream that supplies the water, or used to supply the water for the grist mill. And if we go over here, we can see the raceway. This is where the water travels down to the water wheel. There's the raceway. Over here, around the side of the building, we can see 3 examples of millstones. This is what the water power would have been used for. It would have been used to turn these large stones, and as these stones rotated, grain would be placed between them and the bed stone, and the rotation of the millstone against the bed stone would grind up the grain into flour. Water wheels are certainly effective, and they helped usher in the Industrial Revolution. Today, we use hydroelectric generators, similar to this one. So inside of this yellow box, there is a small electric motor, and if you make it spin, it will produce enough electricity to make that light bulb light up. But as soon as I open this valve, water will come rushing through here. It will transmit its energy to these blades, and it will make the generator spin, and then the water will come gushing out the other end. So let's turn it on and see how much power it can produce. And there it goes. So water is now traveling through the pipe, and it has enough pressure to make the blades spin, and as they spin, they generate enough electricity to illuminate this bulb. The water, after having passed through the turbine, drops back out into this tank of water. Now, in this case, the water pressure is coming from this pump down here. The pump is providing the pressure to send the water through the turbine. That's not very efficient at all, though. I'm using electricity to make this electricity. But if I had a source of water that was at a higher elevation than this tank, let's say I was near a waterfall, then I could capture water, allow it to flow through this pipe from some higher elevation, and as it falls through the pipe, it would pick up water pressure and it would make this turbine work the same way it's working right now. And in that case, I would be generating electricity from falling water. So hydroelectricity really works. This is a very effective way of generating electricity. It's a renewable source of electricity too. We don't have to, say, burn fossil fuels in order to produce this kind of electricity. Hydroelectricity accounts for 6.1% of the United States' electricity supply. The largest hydroelectric dam in the United States is the Grand Coulee, and in fact it's the largest power plant of any kind in the United States. Assuming you build your hydroelectric power station on a river that doesn't run dry, this is a source of power that is very reliable. There are only so many rivers in the United States that you can build hydroelectric power plants on. These kinds of generators require high pressure, which means you need water that's falling from a very high elevation. If you build particularly a very large hydroelectric power station, maybe if you build a dam on that river too, in order to make the change in elevation even greater. But if you do all of that, you cause very significant environmental harm. By building a dam on a river, for example, you prevent migratory fish species from moving through that river. You change the way sediment moves through that river. You can change the way water moves through that river, which can make flooding more likely. There are other ways of generating electricity from hydropower, and some of them have far less environmental impact. Let's look at two of those other ways. Here we see a run-of-the-river type hydroelectric generator. The white blades that you see in the water are a type of turbine that's designed to work well in high flow, low pressure situations. The black box is where the generator is, and if you look very carefully, you can actually see a red light illuminating, which is showing that this is making electricity right now. There are proposals to build tidal generators that work under a similar principle. They don't use a very large change in elevation, but they use high flows of water through tides. Another somewhat unusual type of hydro generator is the Archimedes Screw. Now, originally the Archimedes Screw was invented by the Greek mathematician and philosopher Archimedes as a way to pump water. If you turn the screw, it pumps up water, and you can see water trickling out from the top of the screw. If you put the screw inside of a tube and let water run down the screw, then it will rotate in the opposite direction. And if you connect a generator to this, then you can produce electricity. But the screw itself turns pretty slowly. And fish can actually move through the screw without being hurt. They can ride down the screw or swim up the screw, and they're not harmed. The Archimedes Screw is particularly relevant because there is a New England-based company that is planning on building an Archimedes Screw type hydroelectric generator right here in Easton, taking advantage of the water power created by the Lehigh Canal as it flows into the Lehigh River. I hope you enjoyed learning about water power with me today. If you did, here's a fun at-home activity that you can do where we're going to make our very own water wheel. In order to do this at-home activity, you're just going to need 2 paper plates or plastic, disposable plates of some kind, and you're going to need some disposable cups. And you're also going to need some tape. And what we're going to do is we're going to tape the cups around the edge of the paper plates in order to make a water wheel. I've completed my water wheel. We will include more complete instructions in the link, but let's test it out, see how well it works. Just going to put it in my tank. I'm going to be using my pump, but you can easily use a pitcher of water. You just simply pour the water into the cups, and if you did a good job, it should rotate, just like this. I hope you enjoyed doing this at-home activity, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you for joining me. See you next time.